Hey students, before we dive into the next programming challenge, I wanted to walk you through a tutorial of the new format, as well as set expectations for what's coming down the line. For every challenge from here on out, I'll be providing you a link which goes to the repository for that challenge. There, you will find the README or the prompt for that challenge, as well as other files needed. Now, here's the important part. On the repository for a challenge, look for a button on the top right corner that kind of looks like a fork, and then click on it. When you do this, you'll actually be making a copy of the repository, but under your own account. This allows you to directly make changes to files and to code, and then to push these changes to your repository in GitHub. And the reason we're practicing this is because this is exactly what you would be doing as a software engineer working in the industry. No matter what it is that you're doing, you're going to have to clone the repository or get a copy of the code locally on your computer, and then to read the instructions and then execute stuff. We want to get those repetitions in and get you comfortable doing this. Once the repository for the challenge has finished forking or copying over to your account, go ahead and click on the green clone or download button and then copy that URI. Then on your terminal, go ahead and do git clone and then paste that link in. This will clone the repository or download it locally to your computer. That way you can actually work on the files. When it's finished cloning, go ahead and cd into it and do an ls, and you should see a few different files. The README and the license are going to be included in every repository, but in particular, you'll want to pay attention to the files that end in .py or the Python files. One file is going to be the actual program which you will be modifying and solving your problems in. The other file should have test somewhere in the name, and that's a test file that you can use to check whether your program meets the requirements. If you open up the main program files, or whichever files don't have test in the name, you should see somewhere in there in comments, write your code here. In a lot of the challenges, you will only be required to implement certain functions, in which case the main method will be filled out for you so that you can manually test the program with your own input for convenience. However, there will be challenges where you're required to write the entire thing. Alright, now if we back out of this file and go into the test file, you will see in here a whole bunch of different test cases that are run against your program. Don't touch these test cases. However, there is no rule that says you're not allowed to open the file and look at the tests themselves. Often as a software engineer or software developer, you're not going to have all of the information documented in a README in a nice format for you to digest. In those instances, you're going to be required anyway to go in, look at files, look at the tests, understand what's happening, what's going on, and then draw your own conclusions about what needs to be done. We actually have a challenge dedicated to that, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Anyways, you are always welcome to look at the tests themselves and see what the tests are expecting for a particular use case. The way you make use of these tests is by executing the test files. So the command would be python3 followed by the name of the test file. If I run it right now just to show you, you will see that all these tests failed, and that's because we haven't implemented any of the logic yet, right? Now, when you've finished solving the problem and all of the tests pass, now it's time to actually commit these changes. If you want, you can run git status to see which files changed, and then git diff to see exactly line-by-line differences in what was added or modified, but you're ultimately going to run git add, git commit, write a good commit message, and then git push, which finally pushes these changes to the repository in GitHub. This is actually pretty close to what you do in real life as a software engineer working in the industry. You write your code, you run some tests locally to make sure you didn't break anything, and then you push your changes to GitHub. After that, some other people on your team might review your code, some automated system might run tests on your code, etc. And so what you're practicing here is really close to the real thing. Another reason we're doing this is because very rarely in the industry will you get to come into a company and then just design a new project or start code from scratch. There will already be a product there. There are already other projects going on. You get to come in, look at code, understand how it works, and then contribute to it. One last reason why you're doing this, every single time you do something in GitHub, it logs as activity. And so when you do this, it provides visibility into the fact that you are actively learning, actively coding, and that makes a big impression. So yeah, I hope you take this format seriously. I made it like this for a reason. Anyways, that's enough talking on my end. I'll let you loose to go do the challenge, and I'll see you in the next video where I go over the solution with you. Good luck.